Hypocrisy's the best policy. Wish for change but lazily. Century of debilitation. Your evolution is a damnation. Warranties can't fix a heart. Industrialize and drive us apart. What you advertise can't rationalize. Shining a new one fix any lie. You know, one of the things I enjoy the most about hosting this podcast is when I get to sit down with players, coaches, parents, and fans to talk pucks. I recently chatted with Mike Bonelli. Mike is currently working as a program architect for youth hockey clubs and teams. He specializes in growing the game through creative, grassroots solutions. Mike also educates coaches and conducts player assessment and development. He has been the East District Coach-in-Chief for USAHockey in New York, covering Long Island, Westchester, Putnam, and Dutchess counties since 2012, and oversees the education for over 900 coaches each year in the district. Enjoy. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Trav, aka 5 Minute Major, and I'm pleased to be joined by Mike Bonelli. I first learned about Mike on social media, on Twitter and on Instagram, because he's doing a lot of great things to expose more young people to the sport of hockey through several different initiatives that we're going to get into today on the pod. So, Mike, thanks so much for joining me. Happy holidays.
Thank you, and happy holidays to you and everybody that's listening to your podcast.
Thank you. Can you just give us a little bit about your coaching resume and background?
Yeah, so I've been, I guess, in a lot of ways, more of a hockey director. Right now I have a role that I work as a hockey solutions architect. And basically it's been just putting 25, 30 years of coaching experience, building programs, rink management, program management, and all together into one cohesive message, for the clients that I work with now, which are youth hockey programs and rinks and some NHL clubs, on just helping them find their path and the right direction they want to put their constituents in for learn to play programming. So I've coached at the college level. I've coached I've built a couple of rinks, management team building the Westchester Skating Academy, Floyd Hall Arena out of Montclair, New Jersey, the Danbury Ice Arena in Danbury, Connecticut, which I was there probably the longest time frame, and then a couple of local regional programs like the Staple Express, which has become the Brewster Express now up in Brewster, New York, and some other select programs that I've been involved in. So I've been really cradle to grave with adult development all the way down to learn to play and learn to skate, and trying to put all that experience and contacts together in helping our local region here in the East Coast on developing some hockey solutions and hockey growth initiatives.
Hey, I have to tell you, Mike, I was at Westchester Skating Academy last Saturday, and I've been to the Floyd Hall Arena as well. My nephew attends Paramus Catholic, so we were down there to watch a Catholic high school game. And so nice job on both those arenas, by the way. I really enjoyed myself when I was there. I have yet to get up to Danbury, but that's definitely on my list.
Both facilities have done a great job. I mean, Westchester, I think one of the proudest pieces of the vision behind the owners that originally put the rink up and the need for it. I know actually I was at the Harvey School before that for a number of years developing a program there, and I think what Westchester really, you look at what that was able to do, kind of what's similar to what Brewster's done in the last 16 to 20 years. When Westchester got up, it really spawned the birth of Bronxville, Pelham, some of the other Scarsdale, some of these other programs that just didn't exist when that rink wasn't there.
Right. I mean, it's, I've said this before on my show. I've said it before on Twitter. I really feel that Section 1 has developed into somewhat of a hockey hotbed. Just when you look at
the state championships. We've had 3 since 2012, Suffern in 2012, Mamaroneck in 2016, Pelham in 2017. It looks like we are ripe to send at least 1, if not 2, teams back up to Buffalo, hopefully come March. So, and again, I can't say enough good things about Westchester Skating Academy in particular. I was up on that top floor. I sat in the middle. I had a clear shot of the rink. They have a great snack bar. Like, it was just a nice atmosphere. I really enjoyed both games. I sat there for 2 games back to back, and I could have stayed for a third if they had one. Can you talk to us just a little bit about the whole floorball for hockey initiative and how you see that kind of growing the game and getting more kids involved?
Yes, this is something I actually brought to when I had a short stint down at Iona Prep down in New Rochelle for a little while, and it was. I do a hockey school over in Oslo in Norway and work with some programs over there and trying to do some exchange programs with kids back a couple of years ago. And one of the things I was finding was these European kids were involved with interbandy, which is really, in essence, floorball here in the U.S., but it was just a great off-ice development sport, and it was so different than what we were doing in floor hockey and ball hockey and running around with these wooden, hatchet sticks and the old plastic blades that that you had in gym class, where you were curving the blades in the doorway of the gym, and or having these other floppy plastic sticks that really didn't give you any kind of real hockey feel.
Right.
So what the floorball product did, what these sticks did, is give our kids a real opportunity. It is the best floor hockey experience in relation to what ice hockey is without skates on. Handling the ball, stick handling, the feel of the stick, the way the players, the way you teach the sport and run the sport right now in all the PE classes that we run these programs in, they're all geared around body and ball protection and sticks down on the ground and stick on stick and stick on ball defense and all the same concepts that you have in soccer and field hockey and ice hockey and all these team sports. So it really incorporates all that in, and we can do all that without having the expense and the deterrent, right, of kids having to put a pair of blades on. We've been finding a lot of success with just last year launched a program with the Florida Panthers, which did 360 schools, a 360 school outreach program down in Coral Springs, and in really getting getting exposure to hockey for about 140,000 kids without ever having them to get on the ice. We have a great program we're working with the New York Islanders, have incorporated a couple of thousand sticks and outreach programs with their kids, and we've done a lot of work with the New Jersey Devils as well in their outreach program. Bringing a real life hockey product through school, and that's if you look at USAHockey and look at the people that are in charge of growing the game and building the programs for our local youth hockey outreach initiatives. It's all about access, and it's all about getting to those kids before they choose a different sport. And as you know, you've been involved with this long enough and seeing the kids that you deal with and talk to every day in your hockey world. It's a very it's just the sport is so addicting, and once you can get a kid hooked on hockey, whether it's street hockey or roller hockey and then ice hockey, it's very hard to get them away from it.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, that's how I got hooked. I never played the game. I mentioned this to you. I can't even skate, but I remember just going, as a kid growing up in Suffern, going to Sportorama every Friday night, watching my buddies. And then when Suffern made those runs in 2010, 2011, 2012, and having a personal connection to those players, having had them come through my office as a guidance counselor at the middle school, I really just got hooked. And I said, how can I contribute in some way to this great sport? So I kind of came up with the idea of doing this. And I love getting people from different backgrounds, such as yourself, on the show to talk about all the good things we're doing to try to, grow this great game. And I saw on social media, again, you mentioned the Devils, you mentioned the Islanders, the Panthers. I've seen, Ken Danico with a floorball stick in his hand. I've seen, other, current and former players, getting involved with the sport. So I think it's great what you're doing. And I'm wondering if there are any other programs or initiatives that you could currently just talk about or you're involved with to try to grow the sport of hockey in addition to floorball.
Yeah, so locally it really all stems on the grassroots level. Right? So we just and with the New York Rangers and helping guide them from a USA Hockey perspective regionally in growing the sport and getting access to players and families to see that, hockey doesn't have to be it's not, and a lot of people perceive this, right? If you're in Stop and Shop or the A&P or a local, establishment in the area, and somebody says, "Oh, I see your son plays hockey, and he's 8 years old, and that's crazy. I wish my kid would have taken it up." And you'll say, "Well, how old is your son or daughter?" And they'll say, "Oh, he's already 8, so it's already too late." And it's just a crazy concept to me to think that at 8 years old that you're washed up and you don't have an opportunity for a career and an opportunity to play a sport.
Right.
And obviously that's a social issue more than just a hockey issue.
Sure.
But what we've done is really partner up in providing, what the New York Rangers are doing locally, the Islanders do it in their region, the Devils do it in their region, is providing access at a low cost and doing these Learn to Play and Rookie initiative where kids don't have to go to Ontario every weekend to have a real hockey experience.
Right.
And, one of the things that I think the Rangers now have 11 partner rinks in the area, Brewster being one of them, Long Beach, some of the other local facilities that, up at Ice Time Sports and Saugerties, building these community programs and giving access to kids at the earliest stages. They have a program right now, a Learn to Play League, which is 12 weeks, which is amazing, for about I think it's $175, and all the equipment is free.
That's unreal.
And I was laughing in the last meeting we had with the Rangers that's less than half our kids pay for a Little League bat right now. Right? So it's an access issue, and I think the more that our NHL clubs are coordinating with our local area rinks, the more access we can give kids and the more experience they can get on trying the sport at a low cost and at a great time and a great experience.
I would agree. I mean, I do the public address for the Monroe Woodbury Crusaders who play out of Ice Time. So I've talked a lot to Pete Gianatiempo. I know you're good friends with him, and he tells me everything that they've got going on as far as different programs with the Rangers. And, again, like you said, for $175 for 12 weeks of hockey and equipment, I mean, like that's absolutely unheard of. If we could switch gears for a minute, because I know you've got, a varied hockey background. I know you've coached in a lot of different schools, a lot of different programs. Mike, what do you look for in a hockey player?
Well, so it's a good. The question really for me is really what level player am I looking at, right? So ultimately, no matter if you're looking at an 8-year-old or an 18-year-old, I really want to see a player that has passion. A player that has passion and a player that has the ability to be self-motivated and self-driven and have that, that mom and dad aren't answering questions for them and aren't driving them, to advance their game. That's you get me one of those players, and you get me a player and a student with passion, and all the other things will come into play, and you can work on all those other aspects. You can't create a passionate, dedicated player out of somebody that's not, and that's and sometimes we all push our kids and parents. I've seen it a lot where a parent in a private lesson or an opportunity for an individual one-on-one meeting is Coach Bonelli, how do you can you get my kid to be tougher, or can you get my kid to want to go win that battle for the puck? And the fact is, it's very difficult to do that. Now you can get that out of a player pretty easily. You could drive passion out of a player,
right,
but it's very hard to find passion in a player. So that's me. That's the first thing that I want to see in any athlete, not just a hockey player.
Understood. No, that makes a lot of sense to me, because some of those other skills can be taught. Those skills can be honed, but if you don't have that innate passion, you're not going to be able to teach that. What characteristics, in your opinion, Mike, make a successful hockey coach?
Successful hockey coaches, the ones that I emulate and try to bring myself around are coaches that are learners, that are sponges, that don't believe that what they've done today is what should be done tomorrow. And coach that can evolve with their team, their coaching staff, their environment, the year they're in. I think you'll see that coaches that can evolve and coaches that can't, move their game to another level depending on the group that they're with. Those are the coaches that just are never able to be successful.
What is what's one of the biggest challenges you've faced, either as a coach or, again, someone trying to grow the sport at different grassroots levels through different programs and initiatives? What's one of the biggest challenges you face in doing that?
I think it's patience. I think it's the challenge of knowing that there's a long-term goal or where you want to be, and being able to articulate that patience to your parents and your players, that it's a long road to where you want to get to, and you can't expect instant success without going through some bumps in the road, and that's very hard in this day and age and this world of instant gratification, to really get that buy-in. That's the hardest thing, is to say, listen, that those two losses in November aren't going to affect us in February, and you need to understand that there's a process here, and my process is to make sure that our complete team is better, and that you have to trust in that process and that long-term outlook of where we want to be, and not that short-term, I'm in this moment now, and I'm not happy with it.
I like that answer too, Mike. Two more questions for you, and we touched on this, excuse me, a little bit before we started recording. How would you describe the state of hockey in the Hudson Valley?
Well, to your point earlier, I mean, it's, I guess, when you look at it from the overview, it's been pretty successful, right? I mean, we have, a lot of successful players, and, Brett and Steven, and, all these great athletes that are signing pro contracts, Abby Ives, and the success of women's hockey in the area and girls hockey, but the way I look at it sometimes, though, it's just a product of the fact that we're growing so much that we're bound to have some great success stories, within that growth. And that's a tribute to the rink owners and the people that are putting these programs together, that they're developing all these kids. So our statistics and the kids that are going to make it are we're going to be in a better shape statistically to make sure these individual players can expand. And I think, we're finding we're getting those better athletes to start playing hockey earlier, where we probably would lose maybe, 20 years ago. We would have lost these kids to, well, not lost them, but, we would have lost the battle of maybe a kid, focusing more on baseball or football or basketball. We're getting these kids to, be involved with hockey at a very early age, and we're providing the resources now in the Hudson Valley, for those players to continue to be successful and have some great consistent coaching and access to ice time.
And last but not least, and I know you contributed a lot to this discussion when I did it a couple of episodes ago, and again, I appreciate it because you are a regular contributor to my show, whether it's via social media or whether it's calling in like you're doing today. Can you give me your thoughts on travel versus high school hockey?
So I fall more in. I think it's because of the programs I've been involved with as I've grown in my coaching career, that I've always demanded that that I believe in the team concept, that I believe in the program building concept. That for instance, when I was over at Immaculate High School in Danbury, Connecticut for a number of years, and I was fortunate that the state of Connecticut didn't allow players to play high school and club, or high school and rec, I guess, and there wasn't a lot of junior and midget hockey then. But I think a lot of it is a byproduct of the fact that we don't, as high schools in New York and in other regions, but specifically in New York, that we don't build our high school programs and demand that they are run like a high school program. So instead of, if you wanted to change the concept of, well, the only way you're going to get better and the only exposure you're going to get is to go play junior and midget hockey, which in fact is partly true, because that's the highest level the sport has to offer right now. But if I was to put together a program and had 2 hours practices every day during quote-unquote hockey season, November to the end of February, and I built that program into a developmental setting where I'm playing the best teams at the best levels and creating an environment where, your allegiance is to your team and to your school and to your, to the logo on your jersey, you would change that. Now, is that easy? No. It's extremely difficult, right? And I think I've mentioned this before, is that you'll see the level team. So it's a lot harder at the high school level to do that. It can be done. I think it's just, we've left the gate to the barn open here, and it's kind of hard to bring everybody back in again.
No, I would agree. I mean, and there was a lot of spirited debate that centered around this issue. And I heard from a coach in Minnesota, Ted Cheeseborough. He is the head coach for Centennial High School, who I think are the number 4th ranked team in the state of Minnesota. And he said, look, there is no travel or midget hockey in Minnesota. Kids play for the school and the community that they live in. Then they go off to the high school and they play high school for the community that they live in. So, New York State, it seems like it's one of the only states that offers kids the option, at least one of the only states in this area that I know of that offers that option. And, travel hockey, as you alluded to and others alluded to on a previous episode, travel hockey is the only sport where the travel season and the regular season, high school season, meet at the same time instead of summer. So I definitely think,
But if your high school programs are they, like, again, when I'm an administrator at a high school, or I'm looking at going, oh my, these parents are, they want all this, they want all that, but they're not willing to make the sacrifice of practicing every week, and then you'll hear an excuse, well, we can't get ice time, and I think these are all excuses. These aren't solutions. This is, the long-term look at this is like, wow, we've got to make sure that our 5th and 6th and 7th grade regions of kids is so strong and vibrant that we can support a high school team and not all of a sudden say, oh my God, how did I not know that a year down the road I was only going to have 4 kids coming in as freshmen? Well, you should have known that 4 years ago.
Right.
And I think one of the things we don't do as organizations is look at we're just stuck in the moment and don't look at what are we doing to develop our kids through the process. And the easiest thing to do for a parent, and probably the safest, right, is to just say, well, I just got to put my kid, I got to look out for my own kid and make sure I get them on a travel select team, which again is great and it's great coaching, but it's not building the high school environment. And I think a lot of kids love being in that high school environment. Who wants to play in front of your mom and, your little brother, every day? You want to play in front of your high school friends and teachers and administrators and all those kind of people. It's just a much more fun, entertaining environment for the kids.
Yeah, I've said it before that, again, while the compete level at the travel hockey level is obviously, more competitive, more skilled, you cannot replicate what it's like to be in front of your family and your friends and your community at a random tournament in Maryland or Pennsylvania or, wherever travel hockey takes you. So, Mike, I really do.
Honestly, if your high school team was to develop in that level, right, you would find that those select teams and these showcase teams, what would they do? They would just move to spring and summer. They would just, turn into more of a, okay, you want to get exposure and you want to get that development structure. It would just move to a different season. It would be forced to based on what the other sports do, right? But imagine if I was a basketball player and I went in and say, hey, by the way, coach, I can't make it to practice tonight. I'm going to my other basketball practice.
Right.
It just wouldn't happen.
Nope.
And then that sport wouldn't succeed in that school. And I think that's where, hockey has put itself in New York State.
Well, I'm hoping that at some point, all the stakeholders, will certainly be willing to sit down with someone like yourself that has the kind of background and experience that you have with some of these fresh kind of ideas. If we can get all the stakeholders around the same table and come up with a solution that's in the children's best interest and the players' best interest, that would absolutely be music to my ears. So, Mike, I really do appreciate you taking the time out during the holiday week, during the break, to speak with me. I've been talking to Mike Bonelli. He's doing some really, really big things, some good things to try to grow the sport of hockey at the grassroots level, expose kids who maybe won't have an opportunity to play the sport or see the sport or be exposed to the sport in any other way but through the different initiatives that Mike's outlined. So again, Mike, I wish you and your family a very happy holiday season and a healthy new year. Much peace, good health, and prosperity in 2018.
You bet, Travis. You too, and thanks for having me on, and enjoy what you're doing for Hudson Valley hockey and certainly New York State hockey. Keep it up, and I'm sure the fans you're gaining are just a tribute to I think how passionate people are in our area for hockey, and it's great to see just another voice out there advocating for the sport.
Mike, I appreciate that. It's been such a fun ride. I can't believe I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary. It just seems like I started this yesterday. But, the train is going to move right along. I'm certainly not slowing down, not at least until the state championships. Then I might wind up doing a show once a month instead of, once a week. So we'll see.
Yeah, take a break.
Yeah. All right, man. Be well. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Charles.
You got it.